Hey everyone, this time on Tim Talks Audio, we're checking out the brand new limiter plugin from the guys over at Mastering the Mix. We've worked with the guys at Mastering the Mix before, but this time we're checking out their brand new intelligent limiter. This plugin will analyze your mix and offer suggestions on some settings, but of course, you're not locked into those. You can do whatever you want. And it allows you to do a few really cool things that some other limiters might not be able to let you do. So let's dive into the DAW and check out Mastering the Mix's limiter. So here it is. It's a very easy interface. There's not a lot going on. And let's look at the main controls real quick. We're actually going to start from the left-hand side. Over here, you're going to see NRG, or just energy. This is some saturation that you can add into your mix. And by its suggestions, everything on the left-hand side here for NRG and PCH, which is punch, they suggest that you mess with these first before you analyze, because you can add some saturation, which is going to beef up your song or mix, and punch is just going to change some of the dynamics. So you can mess with energy and punch before even doing anything within this plugin, and we will, but not yet. Next to that, you have an input gain slider. If you need to get your mix more into the limiter, you could adjust this or maybe back it off a little too. Now let's go to the middle bottom, or the middle. This is just your waveform coming through, and the white line on top, which is not doing anything right now, is going to show you your gain reduction when the limiter is actually doing its limiting. Underneath that, you have your attack time here, release or auto, which it's currently in, and it is by default. And then you have a link knob here. With a bunch of limiters, the left and right channels are locked. So if you have a peak that happens on the left side and the limiter needs to limit that, the right side's gonna go down as well. But with a link knob, what you can do is actually dislink, or unlink is probably the correct way to say that, your left and right channels. This way, if you have a spike on the left-hand side, that's not going to bring down the right because it's trying to limit this. They're not going to go at the same time. It's just going to limit the left side and leave the right side doing its thing and only limit the right side when it needs to. You can also blend anywhere in between if you want to kind of just balance them that way. On the right-hand side, DR is your dynamic range. This is the distance between the average or RMS levels and the peak levels. So that's your dynamic range, how far in between, and the comparison of your loudest bits and your softest bits, and how much compression and limiting you're doing. That's your dynamic range. Next to that is an LUFS meter to give you an idea of what you're shooting for. And as you go through different algorithms, then it's going to adjust where you want your LUFS or LUFS to land. And then to the far right is dBTP, or decibels true peak. This is the output meter, and it's a true peak meter. So when you use the control underneath, ceiling, this is a true peak. You're not going past whatever this is. Right now, by default, it is set to -0.2. But you'll see there's a little arrow right next to ceiling, and we're going to see some more after we analyze. This is the suggested starting point. We'll see this little arrow come up on link and attack as well, maybe even release if we take it out of auto, but we're going to just kind of leave everything as it is. Underneath ceiling, you have this button right here. This is actually the delta button, and this allows you to listen to what is being limited. So it's just showing you or letting you hear. It is going to show you too, but it's going to let you hear what is getting limited and what is triggering the limiter to go. And then to the right of that is a gain matched bypass button. So when you hit this, you're going to hear the same volume of your original mix. And this way you can precisely judge if what you're doing is helping or hurting your mix. So you're not getting this massive volume change. You're actually going to have gain matched input and output, and you can just bypass what the limiter is doing. Very quickly, we'll go on top. All around, this is the current limiter setting. If you hit the little menu or hamburger stack or whatever you want to call this button, there's different options in here. Loud, SoundCloud, Spotify Loud, YouTube, Apple Music, lots of different standardized mastering levels. Or you can just go with all around, and you can just kind of adjust as you need to. Next to that is the all-important Analyze button. This is the button to activate the analysis of your mix and for it to offer those suggestions and make some adjustments as needed. There is an A/B option. When you get a license key, you can enter it in here. Otherwise, you'll see this buy now if you're in a trial. The question mark is the help section, and then the gear is your settings. And that's everything, except for that you can resize this. On the bottom right, you can grab the corner and resize the window to fit your screen. Look, now it's bigger. Woo! All right, that's all of the controls. Now let's go through the suggested process on using limiter. We're going to play the mix, and this is pedal down. It's from Walker Tompkins. We've used it before. Thanks again, Walter. So we're going to play the mix. We're not going to analyze initially. We're just going to mess with the energy and the punch so that we can add some saturation. And you can see on bottom, it's telling us this. It's harmonic distortion or saturation. It's all the same. At least in this case, it is. So we're going to adjust the energy and we're going to adjust the punch. If you adjust these controls, energy and punch, after you've already analyzed your song for the suggestions, it's going to ask you to analyze again because this is on the input side. You're adjusting things going into the limiter. So the original settings may or may not be the ones you should use after adding in some energy or some punch. So let's do that first and then we'll analyze. And it does also say to hit the Analyze button at the loudest part of your mix. All right, let's dial in some energy and some punch.
She was red line, oh mine. 0 to 60, all in that 6-speed, no time. I couldn't slow down with that old town, 'cause I was running around that 91 gasoline now, putting that pedal down.
Okay, we've added in a little bit of saturation and a little bit of punch. I went extreme for you guys so you could hear what it was doing, and then we just kind of dialed it in from there. We're going with about 30% with each, maybe 23.5 for punch, 29.9 for energy, if you want to be exact. Now that we've dialed in our energy and our punch, we're going to play that section again, and we're going to hit Analyze. And then it's going to offer some suggestions that we can choose to dial in ourselves. Let's do that right now.
She was red line, oh mine. 0 to 60, all in that 6-speed, no time. I couldn't slow down.
So you can see it analyzed for a couple seconds, and then it offered some suggestions. It's saying maybe we should slow off our attack and bring it all the way over here to about 2,000 milliseconds, so about 2 seconds, which seems very slow to me, but we'll see what happens. And then it's also saying to just kind of increase the link, the left and right balance a little bit here. Because we're set to all around, our ceiling hasn't changed, and you can see that our true peak is matching at -2. And if you really want, you can watch the main outputs over here on my screen, and if anything gets to be ridiculous, it's still going to stop at -0.2. So now that we've adjusted these things, let's see what we're doing. Also, the input gain here, this shaded area, is the suggested input gain for the limiter. So you can adjust this up or down. If I push it up, it's going to increase. If I bring it down, this is the suggested area of input gain. I think we've nailed it, so we're just going to leave it alone. As a quick before and after, I put things back. So attack is back to 500 and link is set to 50. And as it's playing, I'm going to adjust these and we'll see how things sound. And then we'll go and use our true bypass and our delta and really hear what's going on within this plugin.
She was red line, oh mine. 0 to 60, all in that 6-speed, no time. I couldn't slow down with that old town, 'cause I was running around that 91 gasoline now, putting that pedal down.
Okay, we used our bypass. You listened to the delta or what was getting limited. Now, again, we've been doing this in the all-around mode. If we were going to adjust this, and maybe we're going to go with the Spotify loudness, which you shouldn't anyway, but it's in there anyhow. So let's go with Spotify loud. You can now see that the LUFS range has adjusted. It now says it's suggesting a max of -6 and the lower setting to about -10. If we were going to switch this over to just Spotify, you can see that it's now lower at -12 and the max is around -8. We're switched back to Spotify loud, and now you can also see that the ceiling has adjusted because Spotify loud asks for a target loudness or true peak loudness anywhere from -3 to -1.9. So we'll roll this back to get to that. Here's -2, -2.1. We'll go with that. And let's take another listen.
She was real high, oh mine. 0 to 60, all in that 6-speed, no time. I couldn't slow down for that old town, 'cause I was running around that night.
And there you go. Using Limiter and its analyze functionality, we're getting some pretty solid suggestions on where to set everything, adjusting our input gain, giving ourselves some harmonic distortion and some punch within this, adjusting our attack. And you may have noticed I kind of sped it up a little bit because I just felt like it needed it a little bit more. We can adjust the link, the ceiling. We listen to the delta of what was actually getting limited. This is really cool. You see this in some other plugins, but not really in a lot of the limiter plugins. So it's definitely handy to have. And being able to very quickly and easily reference where you want the LUFS or the LUFS or your true peak, that's definitely really handy if this isn't something you're doing day in and day out. If you're not a mastering engineer, maybe you forget some of these things and you could easily just pull open the suggestions from this plugin. Because this plugin just came out, it is still under the intro sale, which is 15% off the normal price, and that ends on December 7th of 2022. This lines up with the Black Friday, Cyber Monday week that we're in right now, and just the holiday season in general. So if you're looking to pick up a limiter to help expand or release your songs, and you wanted something that had all of this functionality, use the link down below and grab it for 15% off. After December 7th, it only goes up a little bit, and it is still a really affordably priced limiter that can do a ton of work for you. That's all for now. If you found anything informative, please like and share the video. To join the community, click on the link to jump into the Discord. Do you want your songs mixed by me? Check out timflansbaum.com, and if you have a question, ask it in the comments, and I'll answer it in a future video. Thanks for watching.